Welcome back, everyone. I'm really excited you're with us on Beyond the Headline today, where we discuss the realities of launching, scaling, and investing in a business. I'm delighted to be here with Matt and Mason, the founders of UpCounsel. Thank you guys for being here today.
Of course, thanks for having us.
I want to start out with you guys explaining the new way you're approaching law for small businesses and startups.
UpCounsel is a B2B marketplace for legal services. Our customers are businesses as small as two guys and a dog, and as big as companies, public companies with 2,500 employees. So it's a pretty big range of quote-unquote SMBs that we work with. And the way that we accomplish that is that we allow our customers, these SMBs, to tap into a network of vetted, very talented, independent lawyers who work over UpCounsel to not only meet new customers, but also help manage their entire back end. And that's actually kind of the magic behind UpCounsel, is that we really provide this fantastic infrastructure layer for these independent solo practicing lawyers to better serve their clients.
I loved when one of your investors, Hunter Walkover at Homebrew, said that, because he said you act as a virtual back office for them when they traditionally would not have one.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think that's how we think about it. As we move more and more into the freelance economy, part of our thesis is that there's this missing infrastructure layer for all of these independent people. The demand is certainly there, but the ability for them to do certain things, like even just collect bills, it can actually be pretty painful. And to the extent that these people are billing hourly or making their living hourly, those are pretty big opportunity costs when you take into consideration all the admin work that they have to do.
One of the things that gets me really excited about UpCounsel too is, your primary offering is that connection, is the back office for the lawyers, and then being able to use your platform to communicate, a small business and the lawyer they're working with. But you can also assemble a team of lawyers who help you with different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the beauty of UpCounsel is that it's essentially a virtualized law firm in a box, right? You can come in and hire a generalist for your general corporate work, or you can hire a specialist to handle your IP matters or your employment matters. So you can kind of build your own legal team and have them on demand, ready for you to work as the work comes up when needed.
Yeah, and it can be in one area. We have some folks that have brought on 3 or 4 different lawyers just for commercial contracts. These are typically our larger companies that come in and use us. But then we have some companies that have a complete set of attorneys all in different disciplines, employment, IP, commercial contracts, to essentially be their, as Mason said, virtual law firm in a box.
When it comes to focusing on that offering, one of the things that Hunter said was that you guys knew what the future looked like before they did it at Homebrew. And I know that's always the way it is with visionary founders. Can you give us a glimpse into how you see law changing and how you're impacting that?
Yeah. So I think that we'll actually take a step back and just look at what's going on with labor and professional services, because I think that's actually where the conversation first got started with us. When we first started UpCounsel, TaskRabbit had just launched, Uber was starting to get moving, and our thoughts were that, why does this have to stop with just this very simple type of labor? Why isn't this going to keep going upstream? And then we started to say to ourselves, well, why do you need traditional firms and agencies that just basically add all these overhead costs? Why can't you do all of this managed essentially online? And so when we think about kind of UpCounsel and seeing that future, it's really a future without firms, traditional firms, brick and mortar firms and agencies, right? We believe that all professional services, especially those that can be delivered virtually, are going to move into these virtual marketplaces. They're going to move into these networks of professionals operating in, different locations, but essentially able to still deliver the same high quality service to their customer, but at a fraction of the cost. And I think twice the speed, because you don't have all the operating BS that essentially goes into a lot of the agencies. So I think that's really where we started the conversation. And then as it applies to the legal industry, it's the poster child for professional services that are on the verge or in the middle of this transition to sort of a new freelance model. 60% of the legal industry is already made up of solo practitioners. That's expected to go up to something like 70, 75% over the next 5 to 10 years. And that's because law firms are consolidating, they're shrinking, and more people are figuring out that they can actually make a pretty good living as a freelancer. And more importantly, the demand for those freelancers, more of a nimble relationship, a more of a cost-effective relationship is out there. And it's not just from small companies, it's from big companies. I mean, we get on the phone with some huge companies that are saying, yeah, we're going to cut like 50% of our law firms in exchange, or basically for these alternative models, or replacing them with these alternative models that are out there. So that demand is certainly there, and I think the industry is certainly getting impacted by it.
Yeah, and I think from the business side as well, the genesis of all of those changes are really a huge benefit to companies and businesses, because a solution like UpCounsel starts to provide transparency, price comparison, and on demand, speedier sort of turnaround time, which is something that has been completely absent in the legal industry for many years. And so like the two of those working in combination together really provides an excellent model for us.
As you guys built that marketplace, Matt, you had a great presentation back in December where you discussed marketplaces as rolling a rock uphill. So I was sitting there thinking, that does not sound fun. Can you take us, from the genesis to the great growth you guys have seen now?
This is at the PTE.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Marketplaces they're very difficult, especially when you've got a pure marketplace like an UpCounsel. Etsy would be another really good example, where you really have a true supply and a true demand that can operate independently. And it is like, I think doing a startup is like rolling a boulder up a hill, right? Just trying to get that initial traction. And a marketplace is like rolling two boulders, because you have to find that product market fit for two different groups of users. And then somehow magically get them to meet in the middle of this like virtual space and get them to transact. It's a very, very hard thing to do. And I think that's one of the reasons that marketplaces, once you get them moving, are very defensible. Because they're so challenging to get moving. So in the early days, you do everything you can to hack it together. We were essentially begging lawyers in the very early days to come join UpCounsel, and now we have more lawyers signing up than we know what to do with. And I think what you try to do is create as much trust in the middle of the marketplace as possible when you don't have any kind of a brand built up, you don't have any kind of reputation built up. And that's probably one of the hardest things I think that we faced. And every marketplace is very different. But for us, we had no reputation built up in the early stages. We had a good set of lawyers, but the really good lawyers came a little bit later in the marketplace history, or I guess say life cycle. Once we had built up a little bit more of the brand, because this is a very high trust kind of industry. And in order to make any movement, people have to associate you with very high quality. This is as good as using a law firm. And until we got to that point, it was very hard, especially on both sides. It was very hard on both sides of the marketplace to really get people to come in. But now, the reason that growth is accelerated is that we've created that trust on both sides. And so now you have a lot more clients that are signing up, which brings in more lawyers, which brings in more clients, and so forth and so on. And this is where those boulders, sticking with that analogy, start to roll a little bit on their own. And it starts to allow us to think about some higher level things, about accelerating, getting those guys moving faster and faster.
One of the things you mentioned on that note in the presentation was partnering with investors and advisors who have expertise in marketplaces and can help you. Can you tell us about some of the individuals that you've partnered with?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Hunter and Satya, who you've already talked about a couple times in the presentation, they're really fantastic when it comes to marketplaces, and I think that was at the heart of one of their themes of Homebrew, this bottom-up economy. Marketplaces are a big piece of that thesis in one form or another. And I think that along the way we try to find folks that have very specific expertise in marketplaces. And I think that the more recent person that we brought on is Venki from Menlo Ventures. He was an early investor at Odesk. I mean, the number of marketplaces he's invested in.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. So he understands marketplaces at a level that is just unparalleled by anyone. And I think what's really important is bringing in the right advisors at the right time. Right. And Vanke really understands how to scale a marketplace, which is very different than just getting a marketplace moving. And there are as many missteps that you can take in scaling the marketplace, because now you're just dealing with these two very, very big things that are sort of moving. You have to make sure that you keep them under control. And so, first, I don't even think the ink was dry on the term sheet yet. And he was already talking with us about how we were thinking about scaling the marketplace from a very tactical level. And he's been fantastic to work with ever since. And you just have those conversations where 10 minutes talking with them and you understand marketplaces a lot better than beforehand.
I think it lends great to your growth. Now you're seeing 20% month over month revenue, 30% month over month lawyer signups, and you were just saying that you were barely able to get them to sign on. What are you doing to maintain that sustainable growth and not just decide we're going to expand everywhere?
Yeah, I think there's a careful balance there between the supply and the demand, and you can't let one go extremely out of whack from the other, and so it's a careful balance between looking at a lot of the different data points and understanding where we need to add supply and anticipating where the growth is going to come from, and just constantly obsessing over the data. One of the things for us and inside UpCounsel is really being data obsessive and really having that a part of our decision-making process throughout every team. So I think that's really enabled us to help, get the growth and accelerate the growth over the last several months.
Right, and I think that there are a million things that we could be doing. There really are, especially in a marketplace. There's so many different things, and I think that we've learned sometimes painstakingly that it's all about focus. There are certain things that we're going to do that can move growth, but then there are other things that we're going to do that actually move growth much faster. And it's understanding that you can't work on everything at any given moment. I mean, even though we've raised a very nice Series A, we're still resource constrained. We can't hire 100 people, even though I'm sure we have enough to do for 100 people. We have to be very careful about where we allocate our resources in order to maximize revenue growth. And I think that's actually probably one of the more challenging things about scaling, is understanding where to invest those resources in order to maximize the growth. But also, and this is very important with scaling a marketplace, understanding how to build the marketplace so it doesn't collapse when it gets too big, right? I think one thing that Vanke really made sure of when we were initially talking with him was that we were going to really focus on quality as we scale the marketplace versus just trying to get it as big as possible. He was very adamant that I would rather you grow a little bit slower but maintain a very high quality marketplace versus just trying to pump as much demand in the marketplace and just get as many transactions, because once you hit a certain size, it's very hard to change it, and you may have created this very unstable sort of house of cards that could sort of tumble if it got any bigger.
I think especially too in your industry, it really is a house of cards because legal services are extremely important and they can affect so much.
Yep, exactly. And that's why we really obsess about this concept of a remarkable experience for our customers. It's actually part of our mission statement, to create a remarkable legal experience. And part of that is actually very high quality, not just the perception of high quality, it's delivering this high quality legal experience. It's part of the reason that, even though we've had thousands of lawyers register for UpCounsel, we've only allowed in a few hundred. And that's because of that vetting process. We want every customer to walk away saying, wow, that was an amazing experience with that lawyer. They knew what they were talking about. I got great legal services. Because when they do that, they're going to tell other people about it. People will really start to associate UpCounsel with something that is as high quality as going with a mid-market type law firm.
And I think that's led to a ton of your growth coming from word of mouth. Someone has a great experience and right away they're going to tell their friends about it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Over a third of our new business every single month is coming in from just word of mouth. And that's not even paid word of mouth. That's not even through like a referral system. That's just people telling one another. The rest come in through organic search and through other paid channels. So and it's about the mix that you want to be in, or if not more, organic or sort of word of mouth coming in as you scale the business.
You both have discussed on the note of scaling of having that balance, and it lends to a great insight that Fred also shared that you have to learn some things the really hard way to learn them really well. What's a lesson that you've learned, each of you, in that balancing act of scaling that stuck with you?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is really in hiring.
Yeah.
It's really tempting to, especially immediately after a round of financing, to hire as quickly as possible and scale up the team. But you have to really be sure to never let down that sort of really high bar of quality and hiring the best people. And I would say that's a very hard lesson to learn the wrong way, and really kind of drives home making sure that you're very careful about that, and you are unrelenting about making sure that you hire the best people, and so we're obsessed about that. The both of us making sure that we're really going to build a remarkable team to come in, and everybody feels like they're surrounded by really smart people who are here and they're passionate about what they're doing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. And we've learned that sometimes in the best way. You make a great hire, and they change the business. It's really amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Make a bad hire, and it's the exact opposite. And I think one thing we've done is learn to get much better at identifying who are the right people to bring in the organization and who are the right people to keep in the organization. And you have to be very fast about identifying those people that just aren't going to fit for one reason or another. But I think just playing off that is you also have to, if you're going to bring in the best people, you have to also make sure you're setting them up for success. A big part of our organization is built on this idea that we're going to hire the type of people that we can trust with very big objectives and very big parts of the company. And we don't have to micromanage them. We give them goals that we want them to go after, and we encourage them to be very creative and to really go after it. And we hire the type of people that want to be in that position, and we try to empower them as much as possible. And I think that moving from us just working on this together and really controlling everything to being in that position where you're hiring really great people to take a big piece of what you used to do, that definitely takes some learning and working with those people so that you as a manager can put them in the best position to succeed. And I think that we've gotten much better at that, especially over the last year as we've brought on just an incredible team. But we would not be able to keep these people if we were just hounding over them. Yeah, it's but it's a lot of fun. I think once you start to get that balance and you start to really roll with hiring great people and just letting them do what they do best.
It really seems, and it's something that I admire so deeply just from speaking with you guys for a short period of time, is you're so dedicated to working with each person on your team to help them, as you said at the beginning, have one or two goals every quarter. Why is that one-on-one interaction so important, especially as you scale?
Well, I think that, in order to make any one team member successful, they're not just going to come in and be successful on their own. Maybe some of them will, but I think, to truly get them pointed in the right direction, it requires, very, intimate conversation, personal one-on-one, talking about what we're trying to do, where are we going, what do we think are the ways to get there, and being able to have that relationship with each person where they can trust, ourselves to, have a hard conversation and bring up some challenges and disagree with us sometimes as well, right? And we encourage that. We, have one of our values is just intellectual honesty and making sure that we're empowering people to disagree and come up with a new idea and suggest something alternative, because Matt and I are not perfect. We don't always have the right answer in every case. So, again, that comes back to empowering people and making sure that they feel like they have the voice to step up and sometimes challenge the CTO or the CEO on some of these ideas. And that's what makes us a great team, because it's not just one or two people making the decisions. It's the company as a whole.
And on a bit more of a strategic level, I think Mason already said this, hiring great people is very hard. And retaining great people is also very, very hard. And so you need to make sure that you're making investments in people, because when you make investments in those individuals, like, they will reciprocate, and they will be much more loyal to the company. They'll be more loyal to the idea. They'll come in wanting to go after these very, very audacious goals, these big visions. And so I think for us, that's just part of the onboarding process, the sort of bringing someone into UpCounsel, because it just makes that idea of keeping people around and really invest in the company just so much more real when you do that. And I've seen so many companies just totally screw that up, where day one they're like, okay, here's your computer, there you go. And I don't think people really get invested into the company when you have that kind of early experience. And we've tried very hard to make sure that, especially for this first group, right, we're only at 30 employees, we're still very small right now. We want to make sure that those foundations are very much a part of kind of who we are and how we bring people into the company.
You guys just moved into a new office too. How is it?
It's good. It's good. Yeah, we just keep expanding from where we're at here as well. So we've got a cool kind of loft space here where we can keep it very startup feel. Honestly, like, there's no cubicles really at all. It's very open, and we encourage people to have conversations throughout the day to make sure that they're collaborating in the right way.
Yeah, it's actually it's a live workspace, but it's not your traditional live workspace that you would think of, right? You can't fit 30 people in those types of things. And they've allowed us to build into a couple of these units and actually break down walls.
Cool.
And so we have four full bathrooms with showers. We have
two full kitchens.
Two full kitchens, and so it really does kind of feel like home. No one sleeps here.
Usually,
no one usually sleeps here. And I think that's exactly what we wanted to do. People love to cook. We just continue to hire really great cooks.
That's smart. That should be your main criteria.
I know. And so people love to come in and cook lunch and breakfast and whatnot. So it definitely starts to become part of that culture. But it's created a nice, very comfortable place to work from.
Very cool. So last couple of questions, and these ones are just about life. For each of you, what are 3 things that you have to do every day, personal or professional, to feel accomplished?
Well, I don't get this every day, but I would love to clear out my inbox. That is increasingly difficult. I think a full inbox is a little bit unnerving, knowing that many of those things are actionable. It's not just messages to respond to. It's actually creating, tasks or projects. And of course, ensuring that people are, set on the right path and they're getting the answers that they need. I think also just checking in with, kind of the lieutenants in the company within my team and other folks, and making sure that we haven't, held them back with unanswered questions and whatnot. But also just trying to stay healthy as well. I don't get there every day, but, trying to be hitting the gym as much as possible. But that is a challenge in balancing, work life.
How about for you?
So I think the first one is trying to work out every day. It's amazing how unclear my head can get when I've gone more than a week without working out. It's amazing what actually it does by just working out in the morning. I try to plan my weeks out on Sundays, and so for me, I have very specific tasks, 3 to 4, that I need to get done every single day. And it's only 3 to 4 because I do not know what's going to happen when I step in the office door first thing in the morning. Same thing with Mason. And I know that trying to do more than 3 or 4 things in the day, like big tasks, is quite a bit. So for me, it's getting through those tasks that I've set out essentially for every day during the week. And then I think that the last one, and maybe this is just because of my role, and I think you probably share the same sort of thoughts here, it's making sure that whoever is reporting to me has a very clear idea of what they're going to be doing for the next week, right? And so there is no question about what project we're working on. There's no question about the metrics we're working on, or where we are in relation to those metrics. They all feel like they're good to go. So for me, I know that I can transfer that responsibility to them, and the company will continue to move, at least in that department.
Awesome. So what's the best gift you've ever received? These are the best questions.
That's actually kind of challenging. Do you know?
I have a very corny one.
Okay.
The best gift I ever received was, maybe this isn't a gift, is that my wife agreed to marry me.
Aw, that's a great one.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry,
I was probably going to say something like that. Yeah, I think it's really remarkable when you can, marry someone that you, couldn't live your life without. So I'm copying out, and I'm going to take the same answer.
That's okay. That's a good one.
And this is a good point, because our girlfriends, now wives, have been with us since we started the company.
Yeah.
So they're really sort of the third and fourth co-founders of UpCounsel in many respects, and they've been through the early days where things are very rough, and you're really pushing those boulders at the bottom of the hill, and up until now, where we're facing new professional challenges, managing challenges, sort of essentially having to grow into new folks. So they're really an important part of the UpCounsel story.
That's such a nice way to close. I don't even know if I should ask another question now. But this one's a good one too. If you could each give everyone a fortune cookie, what message would you write inside?
You got a couple zingers here, I think. I'm trying to think of good fortunes that I've read or received, but I think the best fortunes in general are those that kind of can make you feel thankful and appreciative of life in the moment right now, and that as hard as life can be, the future is paved with positive things and a great life ahead. So whatever that fortune may read, just that we're all very fortunate to kind of be here doing what we're doing today.
Have you ever read The Alchemist?
I haven't.
Okay, so there's this quote in there, and this is not really a fortune, right? It's just one of those things that you read sometimes in fortune cookies. But there's a great quote in there that says, "If you desire something enough, the universe will align in a way to make it so." And I'm paraphrasing. It's something along those lines, but it's absolutely one of my favorite quotes, and it's really just about controlling your own destiny. And I truly believe that if people are determined enough and they're pointing in the right direction, that can really make anything sort of come to being. So I would put that in everyone's fortune cookie.
Well, I'm thrilled that has amounted for you guys with UpCounsel. I have to say I came very excited to dive into the marketplace, and I've walked away with life advice, with management advice, how to empower people and appreciate people. So I'm so grateful for that. How can everyone stay up to date with you? And for those who are interested in starting to use UpCounsel, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mason and I are both very active on social media. So great way to sort of keep up to date with just some things going on inside the company. We love posting stuff, even just sort of insights from inside the office. Like we have beer brewing and whiskey brewing now, and weird things going on inside the office and people's spare time. So you can always keep up as far as those things. We also post a lot of stuff to our blog. Not only great legal information, but also just updates on the company. And obviously, we're always posting stuff on the website, new hires and whatnot. And we are hiring a lot, so please come check it out.
And I think it's very easy to get started with UpCounsel. You can just kind of click the big red button on the page, post a job, and get quotes within a few quick hours.
Very cool. Thank you guys so much for being with me today.
Thank you so much.